Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Teach Me Tuesday session. Today, we are going to talk about the benefits of walking and hiking. And it's very important to learn these benefits because there are many. And today we have with us who normally would teach this session for us in person in a classroom setting. We have Brent. Hey, Brent.
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I know this is not usually how we do the session, but it's going to be how we do it today. So thank you for coming and joining us for our Teach Me Tuesday. So
It's
first
a
of all,
pleasure.
awesome. First of all, let's tell everyone that you're a military veteran yourself. So tell us how many years you were in and what your trade was.
Okay, so I joined in 1974, and my trade while I was in was an artilleryman.
Okay.
So joined in 74 and did, a myriad of postings over to Germany and all the artillery bases across Canada,
Amazing.
Shiloh, Petawawa, Elcarche, and Gagetown, New Brunswick. And then in 1993, I come to Kingston to Royal Military College. And from there in 1997, I commissioned. At the time, I was a Master Warrant Officer. I commissioned and was then posted back down to Gagetown, New Brunswick, and was lucky enough to come back to RMC in 2002.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've been here since, and I really enjoy it. I got out in 2013.
And 2002 is when I started at CFB Kingston as a military fitness instructor.
Oh, right on.
So our history together goes way back.
Yeah.
And now you're a veteran, part of our veterans program, our MVP program. So that's
What a
awesome.
great program.
So again, we welcome you as a presenter and as a veteran. And now I must tell everyone that after you retired, you took on a whole new challenge and decided to go back to school. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I needed that transition. I did, from full-time, busy military career, into civilian life. And I thought that academics would fill that. So as I was getting out, I did some planning and happened to be glancing one day through the St. Lawrence College program and come upon this program that they have there called Fitness and Health Promotion. And I said, well, geez, that sounds interesting. I'll give that a shot. So that was a 2-year program, full time, and I quite enjoyed it. And it, managed that transition nicely between the military and getting into civilian life.
Right, because you said, as a military member, and I know it well as well, teaching fitness over the years, a big part of your life was health and fitness and all of that. So that obviously was a nice link for you. And now after that, you've become a bit of a hiking, walking expert, I must say, in all the conversations I've had with you and listening to all your experiences. Tell everyone about some of the most amazing and memorable walks and hikes that you've done.
Oh, well, there have been more than a few. But I would say that the most, memorable hike would have been the Camino de Santiago, which is a trek across Spain. I've done that 3 different routes with another Army buddy. And basically, it's around 900 kilometers walk over about a period of about a month.
Amazing.
So averaging about 25 or 30 kilometers a day. And it's just nice to get out and walk and meet different people, hear their stories, people of different nationalities, and to experience the culture in other countries as well. Another memorable experience was doing the Chilkoot Trail, which starts out in Skagway, Alaska.
Wow.
And then goes through to Lake Bennett in British Columbia. And it's a historically significant trail, and that it's the trail that the gold miners used back in the gold rush in the late 1800s. So it's a living museum. There's all kinds of stuff scattered along the way. There is. So it's quite interesting and a beautiful trail as well.
And how long is that one?
So at 45 kilometers it is,
Wow.
and it's done over 4 days in my case. There are people that do it over 3 days, but you have to go through a mountain pass, eh? You
Wow.
do, so it's quite rigorous. And unlike the Camino de Santiago, where you stay in hostels, this you're under tents. You are, and you carry everything on your back. You know, like
Wow.
a typical North American hike in the woods. So
Nice.
quite good.
That's amazing. Well, first of all, that's amazing. Second of all, let's not scare anyone away from the
Yeah.
distances that we just mentioned. Let's get back to the benefits of walking and hiking. I mean, some of our viewers, of course, we know we've heard about heart health, and sometimes the first thing that's prescribed to you in a heart health program or a weight loss program is walking. But there's much more to it, isn't it? Let's expand on some of the benefits, like the mental health one.
Well, that's especially relevant today. Given the COVID-19 thing, people are locked away in their houses. All right, and if they're not locked away in their houses, they're making that short trip in their cars to the grocery store or to the drugstore, to get stuff there. And you get kind of a cabin fever type of mentality, eh? And what they're actually starting to report on now are mental health issues. People are, suffering the adverse effects of being confined into, a small area there. So I don't know if you've been out walking or not, but
Of
there's a
course.
lot of people that have taking up walking,
And
or cycling. Hey, some activity that gets you outside of your house.
and you know
And
what?
it's a big benefit for mental health.
Absolutely. And walking, one of the reasons I love it, for many reasons and for many people, you need a pair of legs,
Yeah.
and we have that. So, and what I mean is there's not a lot of equipment required to get out your door and start walking. So, what are some of the things that you would suggest someone needs to get started?
Well, a decent pair of shoes, certainly, right? I mean, depending on the amount of kilometers that you're going to put down, all right. Any time that you're, walking over hard surfaces like city streets or asphalt, you're getting wear and tear to your joints and muscular structure there. So a good pair of footwear, right? It doesn't have to be, hardcore hiking footwear. It can be a good pair of trainers, right?
Yeah.
But something that's decent, all right, and can absorb some of that shock, right? I think that's the biggest thing, all right?
And of course, we should dress for the weather. Right now, the weather seems to be one day warm, one day cold. So we need to
All
be
over the
prepared
place.
for that too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And, certainly, in terms of motivation, by getting a new suit of clothing there, it gives you that motivation to get outside and actually put this new synthetic fibers into action.
Absolutely. And another way we've taught people in the past to stay motivated is to have those items right there where they're visual for you, right? So you can't hide them away in the closet. If they're hidden, then you don't see them. But if those shoes are waiting for you, kind of like your new best friend, right? You're more apt to put them on. So go ahead.
Well, Carrie, that's so true. So what I need to do is before I go to bed at night, all right, if I'm going to the gym the following morning, I need to have my gym bag packed and ready to go. And that way it's sitting there waiting for me and looking at me and pleading, come on, let's go. So you
Yes.
do need that little kick in the rear to get going.
Sometimes it helps. So when someone gets out there and they're walking, how can they kind of monitor themselves or modify things? How do they know what to do besides just walk? What should they look for or feel or?
Well, that's an important point, because for exercise to be beneficial, it has to be or should be performed at a certain intensity. Now, I don't want to take away from the importance of movement, All right, it's important that you just get out and move. Right, but to get the real beneficial effect, you must or should perform exercise at a certain intensity. So one ways to look at that are when you're walking. All right, so if you're putting enough effort into it, then you may have broken a small sweat. If you're walking with somebody at a social distance, of course, you'll may have problems holding a conversation without breathing hard, that type of thing. That'll be a good indication that you're working out to the appropriate intensity. Of course, given these days with electronic devices, many people have fitness trackers now. All right, so a fitness tracker is useful because it'll tell you what your heart rate is. You got yours on right there.
Right. And it does help me get moving.
Yep. It'll even tell you when to move.
That too. Now, of course, before we go out there, and you and I both know from the fitness standpoint, we also have to think about what we're doing for our bodies in preparation. So not just the shoes by the door, the bag packed, or the coat ready. If our body's not ready with food and drink, then that's also an issue. So what should we think about there? Okay,
so what's important is that you do a bit of a preparation before you go out. All right, so again, dependent on the amount of time you're going to be out, all right, that'll dictate what you need to do in terms of preparation. So one of the things is hydration. All right, so about half an hour, 45 minutes before you're going to go out, make sure that you drink, a couple of cups of water. All right, so 16 ounces. All right, that'll, hydrate you. All right, and that way when you do start sweating, you'll have that reserve of liquid in you. Okay. As well, if you're going to go out for, a decent walk, all right, then you want to make sure that you're nutritionally ready. Okay, so you've got enough carbs in you, all right, and that doesn't have to be anything great, just a little snack bar or something to sustain you through it. Once you're out there walking, or before you're going to start the walk, all right, you need to prepare your body as well. All right, you shouldn't start right into an exercise routine from a cold start. All right, it's just like starting a car in the morning on a cold winter morning. All right, things are sluggish and everything. Same thing with the body. All right, so with a walking program, it's really easy. Just start walking at a slower than moderate pace and gradually build up over a period of about 5 minutes. And that way, your joints will be lubricated and your muscles will be warm, and you'll eliminate the chances of injury, that type of thing. So,
I think this is a great point, Brent, because I think sometimes we get in our heads that a warm-up is going to have to be arm circles and all these, how do I think of a warm-up and what movements do I do? But there's no better way to warm up for walking than walking itself, just not quite as fast as your regular pace when you get out there. I think that's awesome.
And Carrie, you raise a good point there, eh? Because, for a lot of us more senior type folks, the old school warm-ups were ballistic type stretching, getting out there and, bouncy type stretching and that is old thought. All right. Now we look at a slow warm-up of the muscles and getting the joints lubricated and ready for movement. All right. And we save the stretching and all that for the end of your exercise period.
Awesome. And I think just to backtrack a little bit, your hydration point is very important. And many of us, including myself lately, have noticed I'm not drinking as much water. Now, maybe that's because I'm not moving quite as much now, being a different environment at this time. Yeah. But one thought process and learning point that I learned was if you weigh yourself in pounds and divide that by 2, that's what you should be drinking in ounces. And I was like, wow, that I'm definitely not getting that. And that's one personal goal of mine. I definitely have to start making sure and being aware that I'm drinking more water. And I have to say that one way, we have our cell phones usually around us all the time. A great tip was wherever your cell phone is, put it a few feet farther than usual, because normally we have it right by our side.
Yes.
And put your water bottle on it. So every time, because you know you're gonna go check your cell phone, every time, guess what you have to lift up before you get your cell phone?
That's right, yeah.
You have to drink your water before you can check it. And
That's a great tip.
A great tip.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to tell everyone, you came up with a great little program, a walking program for someone who is starting out. So we're definitely going to make that available to our viewers, so they can grab that if they want to get started on something right away.
Yep.
So I thank you for that. And is there anything else that you want to make sure people know about, or something that you've learned that you say, wow, you know what? After all my experience walking, this is one tip I'd love to pass on to people.
I'm thinking. Yeah, I would say, you know, like anything, it gets long afterward. Okay, it gets old. It does. And in order to keep yourself motivated, you need to inject something else into it. And again, with walking, that's relatively easy. It is. You can, you know, to make the walk more interesting, you can get out into nature. All right. And we're lucky here in Kingston, and that nature isn't that far away. We got lots of great trails around. Just recently, the Cataract Region Conservation Authority reopened their trails after they closed them. Okay. And the Little Cataract Way Conservation Area, Lemoyne's Point, the Kingston and Pembroke Railroad Trail. All right. All these areas are excellent resources to get out and walk in. And you'll be amazed at what you'll see when you're out walking in nature, as opposed to walking around the neighborhood or in downtown Kingston. It's really quite lovely to get out and meet other people who are like-minded. All right. And again, at social distance, just stop and chat, say a friendly hi. And yeah, so that would be my thing, is to keep it interesting.
Yes, and it will do wonders for our mental health.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brent, for sharing everything. And like I said, we'll have that little walking workout available to people. And hopefully in the future, you can give us another presentation, maybe on one of your amazing walks.
I'd love to. Carrie, if I could I just add one thing?
Absolutely.
All right. And one of the resources that I've found on the internet is a blog. And the name of the blog is Art of Manliness. Now, for listeners to this little podcast there, don't get turned off by the name Art of Manliness. It isn't anything about manliness. There is, I mean, certainly there's subjects in there about that, but there's lots of good interviews. All right. And one particularly good interview that I come upon was one that talked about the benefits of walking in nature and walking in hiking in nature. All right. And the presentation was done by a psychologist whose research area is the effects of exercise on the brain. Okay, and the beneficial effects of that. So I'm just going to put that up here. Hopefully you can see that. All right, can you make that out, Carrie?
It is. It's backwards for us.
There we are.
There we go. And just slide it in front of your kid. The Art of Manliness, episode 589. We'll make sure that goes on the bottom of your walking workout as well, so everyone doesn't miss that. Thank you so much, Brent, for everything.
It's great.
And
you're looking well, Carrie. You keep well too, eh?
You too. Stay well. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
PSP Kingston, the health and wellness provider for the military community.